Hi, my name is Meg Baltes, and I work for a company called Tradewater. We are a certified B Corp that focuses on the elimination of super pollutant gases. And I'm delighted to be joined today with Monica Miller Prabhu, who is the founder and executive director of the Methane Mitigation Industries Council. Thank you for being here with us today, Monica.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I want to start off by asking, what inspired you to create the MMIC?
So I was working in methane mitigation as a technology developer, and I looked around and realized that my colleagues and peers and I were very spread out and fragmented and siloed across a bunch of different industries. And while we know that there is so much good impact that we can have, it didn't feel like we were moving fast enough. And in looking at that, trying to figure out what I could do, I heard this idea that I wasn't the first to say it, but that a fractured approach is a failing approach, and it really felt true. So when some of my colleagues came to me and asked me about starting something that could get us organized, I decided, yes, that was really, really important, and it's something that I could do. So MMIC, Methane Mitigation Industries Council, is a direct result of the industry itself recognizing that it needed to get in gear, get organized, and sort of bring the pieces together.
So you mentioned this time component of kind of needing to act now. What is the role that you see methane mitigation technologies playing in getting us to net zero by 2030?
Well, I will defer to my climate scientist friends on this. Taking their lead, we understand that 30% of the current warming can be directly attributed to methane emissions. But at the same time, only about 4% of climate finance is going to methane mitigation activities. So there's a huge potential to increase that share of the pie and expand the pie in terms of climate finance and do more sooner to that 30% of warming and really tackle all of the super pollutants, but methane is the one that we can get at the fastest and easiest because we have a lot of tools that are already commercially available. So I would say hope and focus are two things that mitigating methane will really bring to this collective effort to address climate change and get us to net zero as fast as we can.
I love that you mentioned hope because I think that's such an important thing missing from so many industry conversations. And what would you say the role of collaboration through governments, innovators, and companies can play in scaling some of these methane solutions?
So it's amazing to be here at Climate Week, and I have been to almost maybe a dozen events relating to either super pollutant mitigation or methane mitigation specifically. There have been so many that I couldn't even get to all of them, which is, and those events specifically were about coordination and about collaboration. So yes, there is a recognition across the industries that partnership, coordination, being strategic, because methane mitigation means finding all of those many sources across many sectors, more than just in food and dairy and oil and gas and waste. There are so many sources of methane, and they need different approaches and solutions. So coordinating and partnering is going to be absolutely essential.
And when we talk about coordination, there's so many different components that come in there. And so what are maybe some of the biggest obstacles that you see in scaling these technologies or having these conversations, and maybe some of the greatest opportunities we have towards climate impact?
Yeah, so my organization is very squarely focused on the hurdle of driving demand and interest for methane mitigation. So we're particularly looking at raising visibility for the industry with buyers and finance organizations, investors, lenders who really are interested in climate action. This is happening. Thankfully, MMIC is not alone in starting to improve demand for super pollutant and methane mitigation. But I think that that's one of the biggest hurdles, is that we really need demand. We can be doing the work and building the tools and developing projects, but if nobody is buying on the other end of it, that's the biggest hurdle. It's also the biggest opportunity, because if we can mobilize capital towards methane mitigation and towards super pollutant, the concept that there are super pollutants that can have near-term impact, we're going to be doing a lot of good quickly while we're at the same time not forgetting that decarbonization is the long-term play. We can't take our foot off the gas on that.
Of course. We like to always say in the industry that we need to look at the short-term and the long-term approach.
Yeah.
And methane is very specifically targeted at these emergency brake solutions.
Yes.
We need to act now.
Yes.
So for people who want to act now and be part of this, what are some of the ways and mechanisms in which they can be involved in this important work?
So you can definitely, if you are in the industry or if you're methane curious, you've been maybe working in putting your money into carbon credits or looking at different parts of climate finance, start looking at methane mitigation and follow, get involved, participate, even potentially become a member of MMIC. The core industry is the methane mitigation technology providers and the project developers, but also the ecosystem of lenders and buyers and the corporations in emitting industries are part of MMIC. And by getting together in one place under one tent, we'll start surfacing the hurdles that we can all tackle together and the opportunities that we can take advantage of in coordination. I'll just want one more anecdote if I have time to do that.
Of course.
And that is that I have actually really heard that there is interest from buyers. There's an institutional investor at a recent event who stood up and asked the question that there was real interest in putting money into methane mitigation projects, and yet they weren't sure where to find them, in this case specifically on the California compliance market. And the truth is that there are methane mitigation projects that issue carbon credits, but they're carbon equivalent, so they're CO2e. And that concept I realize that not everybody is familiar with. If you're looking at a carbon credit, you actually might be looking at a methane mitigation project that's behind it. So big opportunity to do some translation and connect the dots for people.
That's wonderful. And I know Tradewater is very excited to be part of this journey with MMIC.
Founding member.
Founding member. And thank you so much, Monica, for your time today.
Thank you, Meg.
Of course.